This is a Voyescape podcast. You can find all of our travel podcasts from around the world at voyescape.com.
So today we are doing something a little bit different. We are going to southern India, to Karnataka province, to look at the whole range of things to see and do in southern India. And I am joined by a very special guest today, James Hammond from the Wing Travel Podcast. We're doing a bit of a joint podcast today between our two shows. James, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. How you doing, David?
Doing very good. James and I have just got back from, how long were we there, James? About a 7-day, 8-day trip, I guess, altogether.
Yeah, so 8-9 days, I think. Yeah.
Landing in Bangalore first.
Yes.
Where we attended the Karnataka International Tourism Conference. But that gave us a chance to then really go and explore a little bit of southern India and really see kind of all that the region has to offer.
Yeah, we started in Bangalore, and there'll be episodes on each of our podcasts for that experience. But the first initial hit was busy, dusty. It's got 8 million people, Bangalore. So we had that initiation into southern India first, and then we jumped on to the itinerary that we got given for this trip.
And what did you think? I mean, you've been to India before. Yeah. I've been to India before. How did this experience differ from some of your previous trips?
Yeah, don't forget my last experience lasted 3 months.
Right.
So the key point here is I had time.
Yeah.
And I think we'll come to a conclusion at the end that time is key for your trip in India. So I was intrigued by this tight packed schedule and how it's going to work because we're traveling by bus. And in my experience, buses can be hit and miss, and the roads aren't great. It's busy all the time. The thing of India, there's people everywhere. You think a bus is not going to be full. You need to think again, everything is full. The trains are full. So travel time needs to be considered. So I thought, yeah, I was kind of going to get a different experience in a shorter space of time. And I was keen to see how that would compare. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, this was my second trip to India. I visited for the first time early last year. And on that first trip, I was really fortunate I happened to stay at an Airbnb with a family who really kind of took me under their wing and showed me around. And that made a huge difference. And I think having someone to guide you through on a first trip to India is probably something to think about because it is a little bit tougher place to travel around logistically, for sure. Schedules tend to switch around a little bit while you're in travel. It can be, it's not for beginners. It is a little bit higher on the skill level, I think, when it comes to global travel.
Yes, I do name India on my podcast as one of only 2 places for total shock, culture shock.
Yeah.
Even though I was quite experienced in 2016, been around the world a bit, it was a different level. And I think I had a good grounding because I was straight into it.
Yeah.
So I feel like that grounding prepared me for this trip. And because, like you say, I had things cancelled. We had trains that we booked that didn't even exist. Different train stations we had to go to. Like, it was chaos. So I was kind of intrigued to see how this would go.
Yeah. And so this time along, we were on a sort of safari trip, getting out to some of the national parks there. One of the really notable things about this region, I think, is it's got more elephants than anywhere else in the world, more tigers than anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
So for somebody who wildlife and getting out and doing kind of wildlife exploration, safari tours, this is a great place to do that.
Yep. And I was kind of looking forward to seeing some wildlife again because last time I did a trek to see rhinos and hippos and I saw none. They got a classic response after that saying, "Oh, you didn't see any?" Like as if they were shocked. So I wasn't convinced if I was going to see anything this time. So I was a bit more pessimistic. Yeah, I was looking forward to the safari. That's why I chose it. And yeah, I was looking forward to seeing some tigers and maybe some elephants. Yeah.
And we did see a fair bit of wildlife, and I'm sure we'll get into that as we go through kind of the itinerary. The other thing I think this region is really well known for, coffee. It's kind of the birthplace of coffee in India.
Yeah.
80% of their coffee produced in this region is my understanding, and that's really where we started off the trip.
Yeah, I think coffee was also the second port of call for this trip for me because I wasn't into coffee back in 2016. So yeah, I think coffee was the major pull, and I didn't think we saw as much coffee as we thought we maybe see. I was kind of expecting maybe a bit of a tour or a plantation tour, and we drank some coffee, but we sort of had 1.5 to 2 hours in a museum, which was great.
Yeah.
But that was about it, I thought.
In Chikmagalur, I guess was the area where we really focused on the coffee aspects of the trip. And we did get to see a little bit of the coffee plantations and stuff where some of the places where we stayed, I think the following night. And that coffee museum did a good job of kind of taking you through the all the stages of production, all that sort of thing, and then did a bit of a tasting at the end of the tour. So probably something.
Tasted good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I enjoyed the coffee there. We got more of a rustic experience because they go through the old school way of doing coffee, and they showed us around for one hour and a half.
Yeah.
I think you had the opportunity to buy coffee there if you wanted to, but I didn't feel like we tasted enough to do that. But the coffee at the end did taste really good, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we stayed in pretty, I think of all the places we stayed on the trip, this was actually one of my favorites, was our first night in a place called Java Rain Resort. Luxury resort, kind of up in amongst the coffee plantations, really quite stunning views, private villas. They had a great pool area, a bit of wildlife. We saw monkeys in the morning when we woke up.
Yeah.
Great. It looked like a great spa and restaurants and stuff as well. Certainly, I think if I was back in the region, I would stay back there. I was pretty impressed with that in terms of the resorts that we checked out.
I think it was my favorite resort of the trip, but I'm going to put it out there as an official thing. I think it was the best luxury resort or hotel I've ever stayed in.
Yeah.
I was blown away. Yeah, I think I don't stay in luxury much.
Yeah.
And I don't have much to compare to, but I have that trip to compare that experience. And I thought the whole location, the guy who owned it is great. He's quite young. It's family run, and it is on the expensive side, but you do get what you pay for there. It's got stunning views over the valley there, and the little walkway to my own private villa was pretty sensational. Yeah, I loved it.
I wish the only downside, we didn't get a ton of time there. We arrived pretty late at night.
Yeah.
So we had a dinner there. We got to spend the night overnight, and then we're kind of off to the next destination after that. I definitely would have liked to have spent more time there. It looked like they had a great spa. Looked like they had a lot of different things to experience there for sure.
Also a bit of luck. Do you remember, like, in the hotel before, they announced we had to split because there's not enough rooms, and we didn't really know what to do.
Yeah.
So we just put our names down for Java Rain. I had no intel on that.
Yeah.
I thought, well, this hotel looks great, but let's see what the other one's like. It's a bit of a risk, winging it almost.
Yeah.
We put our names down, no idea what to expect, and it turned out to be a great decision, I think.
Kind of lucked out, I think, on that first night.
Yeah.
From there, we got to dig a little bit into culture, and this was definitely my favorite cultural stop of the trip was Bangalore Temple, sort of the historic pilgrimage site that we got to go in and look at. For me, this actually reminded me a fair bit of Siem Reap in Cambodia.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, the gold temple, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting that vibes as well, actually. Yeah,
and it's really, really intricate carvings, quite a large area that the pilgrimage site covers, and multiple different sort of buildings and things that you can go throughout. We had a tour guide who took us through and did a great job sort of giving an orientation, telling you a little bit about the culture and the history. And I thought one of the great things is, if I'm not mistaken, I think we were there on like a Saturday or a Sunday, and there were a ton of local families there, and all kind of dressed up and celebrating and really friendly and welcoming, and I thought that was really one of the highlights of the trip for me, for sure.
And I felt like we were mini celebrities. I got the feeling that a lot of families, you find this a lot in India, that a lot of people have never seen foreigners before sometimes. So when you walk into a place that's not on the tourist trail, you might get like, oh wow, you're here. So a lot of photos were taken with locals, interactions with some of the group, because some of the group are Indian expats, so they could probably speak some of the language. Yeah. And I felt the vibe was really family friendly. It was positive. We got some history on it with our guide, and overall a great experience for an hour, I thought.
And I think that's an important point that I would say throughout our entire trip, I didn't see a ton of international tourists. Like this is definitely a bit of an undiscovered destination at this stage, I would say. And places like Java Rain, they were telling me that 90% of their guests are from Bengaluru, or Bangalore, right next door.
Yeah.
So it's not drawing a huge number of international tourists yet.
Yeah.
But there's definitely if you're looking for a kind of up and coming bit more of a place that's still developing but has some great things to see and do, definitely maybe a destination that people want to check out.
Yeah, I thought that was the first impression on the night before. We went to Chikmagalur hill station, viewpoint, which is like a 35-minute walk up, right? And full of tourists, but local tourists. I think we're the only international group there.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, this is amazing. The sunset was incredible, and we got to view like 360 degrees, and there's like a little hill station on top. And I thought, oh yeah, we are the only tourists here, but this is a stunning location for like a sunset. Yeah, that was the first entry into this area. Like, oh, okay, maybe this is not on the tourist trail at all. Even though on my travels last time in 2016, people mentioned Hampi, which is about a 6-hour drive north.
Yeah.
So
6-hour drive, but probably only a couple hundred kilometers, because it does take you a long time to cover distances there.
Quite close in India terms. So I was kind of surprised not to see more tourists. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And then from there, we sort of continued on through the sort of hill stations up into the mountains, into the Western Ghats. Our group, again, kind of split up that night where the women traveling our group were assigned to one hotel. We stayed at another one called Trivak Hotel and Resorts, which, on a coffee plantation as well.
Yeah.
I know a lot of the group, unfortunately, I didn't get up early that morning. I don't know if you got up early for the plantation hike the next day, did you?
No, because the night we arrived, there was a quick 20-minute walk for a sunset view.
Yeah.
Some people had already checked into their rooms. There's about 4 or 5 of us. And we got there and it was literally 10 minutes and the sun went down. So I got that sunset view, quickly hiked up there, got the video and I got the time lapse. So I didn't bother in the morning because I had that sunset view.
And this, talking to the owners of the hotel there, they get almost no international travelers. It was very nice, like a solid 4-star, 3-star resort with a lot to see and do. They had like a ropes course that you could do, pool, spa,
Sports,
quite a bit to dig into there.
And we had a nice little evening by the pool.
Absolutely.
I think we labeled it as like a nice drinks get together, but they took it quite seriously and set out a long table. They had food brought to us by the pool. They had like a own little bar area. So they really did accommodate us quite nicely.
Absolutely. And then from there, back to a bit of kind of cultural exploration, getting to see one of the largest Tibetan Buddhist monasteries, in the area, in Korg. And I'm trying to recall their name, the Namdroling Monastery, I believe.
Yes, that's what it's called.
The Golden Temple, I guess it's also referred to as.
Yeah.
Where we got to kind of take in some of the atmosphere there as well.
Not that old. I think built in the 60s.
Yeah.
I think built for Tibetans who feel like they have to leave China. So it's like a little sanctuary. I think the monks live on site. So when you walk in, you go through the gates, you got a huge picture of Dalai Lama, quite a striking image.
I think it wasn't the Dalai Lama though. It was a different, because I was talking to somebody there that the Dalai Lama isn't their spiritual leader. They've got another I can't remember the name now, but it was not the Dalai Lama, but another Tibetan Buddhist leader.
Okay, I'll take it back.
Yeah.
On the sign it says, I'm reading my phone, which is not great. His Holiness Penor Rinpoche.
That's right.
Okay, so I'll take that back. It's not Dalai Lama, but when you go in, you see a picture of this guy, and he's on this temple. It's huge.
Yeah.
And as you walk in, it's quite striking, I think. And you can go inside and check out the temples and take your shoes off and stuff, and it's really quite impressive.
Yeah. And that really then was kind of a gateway to then take us through to Tamara, the area where we stayed that night. And that was really pretty stunning. I mean, a mountainous sort of hill station area that we were staying in. A lot of eco resorts throughout the area. We stayed at one called, or I did. I know me and you ended up at different places that night. I stayed at one called Tamara Korg, which were these kind of unique hill cottages on stilts up in the mountains. You had great views of the surrounding mountains, great sunset views. They had quite a nice spa there. I think of all the resorts we stayed at, probably the best food at this one. They had a really nice restaurant there.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we were there during dry season, so it wasn't quite as stunning as I think it would be if you went during the rainy season, because they actually have a glass floor with a waterfall that goes right underneath the main restaurant as well. That when we were there, it was more of a gravel pit than a waterfall. Unfortunately, just
some work's been done on
that the time of year, but it was still beautiful and a great restaurant and a lovely resort as well.
Yeah, I think some of your group might say that's the most luxurious place they've stayed at, and it is stunning. My only concern with that is because you've got your own little patch of land with your villa, it's all up in the hills. You can't casually walk to anywhere because
it was really spread out. Yeah, it was really for people looking for, I would say, kind of a exclusive retreat up in the mountains. You want to be off on your own, because you were quite separated even from the other cottages, and to walk from the spa to your cottage might be a 15-20 minute walk to get across the resort.
Yeah, and I didn't get to stay there because we didn't have enough space for our group. We had 23 people in our group, and I think there's one room left. So me and a guy called Fred, we popped off to a homestay on site, which is about a 5-minute drive. It's called the Bangalore 1934. If people put that in Google, you're going to have Gordon Ramsay pop up on your Google search because he filmed one of his Uncharted episodes for India there. So I got to meet the mother and son, and Amrith is the son, and he officially owns it, but his mum, who's a really nice person, helps him run the homestay. It's got 6 rooms, maximum of 12 people. And the idea of a homestay is that you traditionally help out. I mean, that's what homestays are. You're going to maybe help with the cooking. So I asked, can we, her name's Aunt Fancy, can we like help anything. She goes, no, no need to help. Like we do get guests who offer help in the kitchen, create breakfast, maybe do some gardening. We don't have to, but that's the idea of homestay. And me and Fred stayed there for a night, and it was unbelievable views for the sunset and then sunrise in the morning. And I think one of the group, Rosie, she came and took some photos because it's quite a fancy homestay.
Yeah.
Very comfortable, big rooms. And I think I did ask him how much it is per night. I think he said about $100, which might sound a lot, but compared to tomorrow where you're staying, that's pretty cheap.
Yeah.
And Amrith took us in the morning in his Jeep. He's got a few Jeeps onto his plot of land, went down to the stream, went to his house, and he showed us where Gordon Ramsay cooked his meals. So we got a nice little experience, family-friendly experience. And you need to apply to stay there because they get so many people applying every week. So he says they're pretty selective on who they accept.
A very cool spot for kind of a impromptu last minute stay for you guys. It ended up being a pretty unique stay. Did you get to, did you have the breakfast there, or did you end up, I'm trying to remember.
No, we did. We had the breakfast there. I think our tour group was going to tomorrow, but we said no, we want breakfast at the home. And that was, I'm really bad here. I don't actually remember what we had in terms of the name of the food, but it was traditional Korg breakfast. And what I can remember is like rice cakes or rice made patties, and also like I guess it's like roti bread, and it was like cold. What I would say like almost like a vegetable curry with that, and they have eggs as well. They cook me some omelets, so and coffee as well, of course. And that reminds me, the best thing about it is he gave me a packet of coffee, which is made on site, and they sell it on site. I'm now drinking it in Vancouver, and it's awesome.
And I think at Tamara, they had the same thing. They had their own shop where they had locally grown, I don't know if it's grown right at the resort itself, but coffee as well. And they also had a huge sort of garden area where they were growing fresh vegetables, herbs, everything that was very much incorporated into all of the meals. I think in terms of price point, it was in the neighborhood of about $250 to $350 a night, if I remember correctly, for sort of the cottages there. And I'm sure that varies depending on the season and how busy it is and things as well.
Yeah.
And then that was really a jumping off point for us to get to what we were ultimately there for, the safari portion of the trip at Nargahole National Park and Tiger Reserve, which was a bit of a switch. We were initially scheduled to go to a different national park, and then just with, as happens sometimes on a trip anywhere, but as we talked about, sometimes plans shift when you're traveling to India. And the other national park that we had initially been scheduled to had a large group come in that ended up being closed off, and as a result we were redirected over to Nargahole National Park, a huge park reserve, and I think only about 10% of it that you can even go and experience on safari trips. Quite a large population of tigers, of elephants there. We saw a ton of elephants as we were coming through. We saw a gaur, I believe it was called. We had a large bison,
like a bison type thing.
That was quite cool to see. A lot of deer, wild boars, monkeys. We missed the leopards and the tigers, unfortunately.
Yeah. Wrong time of day.
Wrong time of day. We were there late in the day, so I think that would be the tip if you are going to go to Nargahole, to make sure that you get at least 2 safari drives if you can.
Dusk and dawn, I think.
And dusk and dawn, yeah. We're unfortunately, just the way our travel schedule netted out, we ended up being there kind of midday. So we still saw a bunch of wildlife, just not some of the big cats that are the big draw that get a lot of people to go to that part of the world, for sure.
But it was a highlight. The elephants that are just, these are wild elephants, not like cage or anything. They're chilling out by the water, drinking. I think there's 7 or 8 of them, like a little family.
Yeah.
That was pretty majestic. I've never seen wild elephants before, so that was a big bucket list item ticked off. And I was just in awe that they slowly glide along the water and pick their spot. And there's a point where, I don't know if you remember, there was a deer hanging out in the water. There's turtle on a log, and then there's a couple of...
And then there was a herd of elephants.
Yeah. That photo is pretty incredible. Yeah, that was a thing that will stick in my mind for sure.
Have you ever seen tigers? Have you done tiger safaris before?
Yeah, but not in a wild setting. This would be in Thailand, where they do the dodgy walking with the tigers next to you.
Okay.
I do not recommend it because they're probably drugged or whatever. So yeah, I've touched a tiger and I fed a tiger a chicken, but it's not legit. That's for sure.
Well, I've probably done 2 or 3 tiger safaris now in Sri Lanka. I believe we did one, and in Nepal, and in India, and I'm 0 for 3 in terms of eating tigers.
Yeah, I don't have a great record with wildlife.
But if you are looking to see them,
Yeah.
this is like where we were is really the heart of the best place, the largest population of tigers you're going to find anywhere in the world. And I know, talking to our guide who we went out with that day, I mean, he was showing us stunning pictures from earlier that day, from the previous day. I think we just happened to catch it at a bad window there that we were a little unlucky.
I do remember that was the only activity, because we mentioned earlier India, things can take time or get cancelled. It was the only thing that was on time.
Yeah,
that's right, on time.
Yeah,
they got like 2:30. We're going. We got there for 1:30 for lunch, or 1:45.
Yeah,
and as soon as it came to 2:30, it's like, we're off. We've got to go.
Yeah,
and it was the only time I thought it was like strict timings. So it was nice because we got to see elephants. So quite nice to have that
for sure. And then from there, traveled to Mysore.
Yeah, I knew nothing about the place. I knew a lot of the group wanted to see Mysore, Mysore Palace and stuff like that. So for me, it's purely brand new. Don't know much about the place. And we arrived and we had 45 minutes, I think, before the tour started. And you kind of walk around the grounds. I think it's a time of day where locals go and they don't want photos or videos. Even though locals are doing that, but this is the time for locals, not for tourists. So we decided to hail down a couple of rickshaws and go to a local market.
And that market, I thought, was one of the highlights of the trip for me. It was maybe a 5-minute rickshaw ride away from Mysore Palace. It was really kind of the local flower market, spice market, vegetable market on a Saturday morning. I think that we were there, and lots of local handicrafts and stuff as well. A lot of locals there. It was super vibrant and really nice market. I was quite impressed.
Yeah, it's called Devaraja Market, I think it's called. It's by a clock tower in Mysore. I put that in Google, and it has a range of things, fruit and spices, and just local people talking about their daily lives. I think we're the only tourists there. I don't see many other ones. I can't remember.
Yeah.
It's just nice to get in amongst local culture for 20-25 minutes where it's not planned.
Absolutely.
Just exploring, getting our photos, maybe speaking to some locals. I think they're surprised to see us. So
very on brand for you, kind of winging it. Maybe areas we went, and that ended up being both there and in Bangalore, where we did some of the best parts of the trip, where the unplanned, really digging into the local culture a little bit, and some of those unplanned moments for sure.
Yeah, don't be afraid to hail down a rickshaw and just say, want to go here. If you don't want to barter, just offer a price. I think we paid 100 rupees one way.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can say to the driver, can you wait 20 minutes and pay him a bit extra? So yeah, just get out on the road, hail one down, and it's pretty easy.
And that's one of the things I have to say coming back that I was stunned by is how inexpensive transportation was when we were there. I had a bunch of, we did a bunch of Uber rides back and forth, in the capital when we first arrived and around various places. And, sometimes because of traffic, we would be in an hour long or longer. Uber, I don't think any of those cost more than $4, $5. They were really, really inexpensive.
Yeah, I think my first one was on Uber.
Yeah.
The app, but you can actually order a rickshaw on Uber.
Yeah.
I think it was 67 rupees. So we're talking less than $1 here.
Yeah.
And that was to go from where we were staying.
Yeah.
I think to a park. I think that was 20-25 minute ride.
Yeah.
Less than $1.
Yeah.
And you can upgrade for another 50 cents to get an actual car. So real cheap to get around.
Yeah. And then and I guess the palace itself too, just really kind of spectacular interiors, ornate halls. One of the things that was clear, just looking at some of the illustrations and stuff surrounding the periphery of the palace, is that it plays a central part in a lot of local festivals. And I think if you could time your visit to be there during one of those local festivals, would be pretty dynamic. And also, my understanding is that when they light it up at night is really stunning as well.
Yes.
Again, just timing wise, didn't work out that we didn't get to see it,
fortunately,
during the night. But definitely, I would say if you're planning a trip there, you're going to want to make sure that you plan to be able to see that for sure.
Yeah, just one of those places where you can't take photos or videos. Maybe photos, okay, definitely not videos. And we got a lot of information from our guide. I don't remember too much, but the architecture inside is stunning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, again, if I was going back, it'd be nighttime viewing for that, I think.
And then our final stop of the journey, as we got back to Bengaluru, was the Golden Chariot train, which is kind of an iconic luxury tourist train, heritage train that takes people on trips throughout southern India, to places like Chikmagalur, to Hampi, to other destinations. Really pretty luxurious on board. I was a live aboard train where you've got private accommodations with your own bathroom, your own quite large suites throughout the train. One of the unique things that I hadn't seen on a luxury train, I've been on a few luxury trains around the world. The first one I'd seen that had a full gym on the train. That was kind of
you'll pass a gym.
And the spa too. You got massage as you're on the train. So that, what were your thoughts on the Golden Chariot?
Well, based on my train experience last time in India, it was a very different experience.
Yeah.
I was on the sleeper trains, so they're like $2 a go, and you get 3 beds either side. So nice to go on a bit of luxury. I would say that if you want to, it's a luxury thing to do, but if you want to have a similar experience but not pay that price, you can get a premium first class on a normal train.
Yeah.
That normally comes, the top class, I think it's like diamond class, that comes with a butler maybe, who would maybe bring you some drinks and food. But we're talking like $20, $30 a ride. I mean, it's like a really luxury thing to do for a cheap price.
Yeah.
But obviously if you want to slum it and do a backpacker thing, that's a $2 ride in a sleeper carriage, you can do that as well. So I know Golden Chariot is much more expensive than that, and when you go on it, you kind of realize that this is like proper. The decor inside just spells luxury, right? So it's a different experience. But I would have loved to have just gone up just a 2-hour ride from Bangalore to Mysore or whatever it would be.
Yeah,
just experience it going along. That'd be quite cool.
Yeah, and I thought the decor was quite stunning. The facilities on the train I was quite impressed with. The food I thought a little disappointing. It could have been a little better maybe than it was. I don't know if that was I don't think because we were really just given a chance to tour the train in station. It wasn't part of their normal journey, and I'm not sure if the menu that we received that day was part of what you would get as part of the normal trip as well. But that was the only part that I thought was a little lacking on that one.
Yeah, in a weird way, the generic train is better for food because you get the vendors come on and give you some vegetable pakora for 10 cents, and that's out of a bag, right? And it's really tasty. So yeah, it wasn't as good as I thought it would be.
Yeah. So any final thoughts on southern India?
It's a place I definitely want to go back to, and I thought the group did really well. There's 23 of us to adapt to the changes, so I want to give a shout out to the group. A lot of people that we have now connected with, and I think it's been a good 4 or 5 days on that tour, and then the 3 days at the event to really connect with some new people. We've got some new friends out of that, and as a place to travel to, I think is an area where maybe people should look into because it's new. If you like maybe a bit more rustic travel, it's probably quite cool for that. And until they catch up with other places like Rajasthan or Darjeeling in the north, I think the prices will be fairly handy for the time being, and just give them a bit of slack. So I think they're working it out as a tourism place to go to. It's
clearly a place that they are investing a lot in tourism. They're looking to draw in international tourists. I thought the event itself that we attended, the Tourism Expo, the organizers did quite well. I mean, they did a really good job, I thought, of showcasing some of the culture of the area. That we had some amazing folk dancing there the first night that we arrived, where they were talking about kind of 150 different forms of folk dance in the province, and showcased probably 8 to 10 of them, and really stunning performances. We had a chance to stay at have dinner at the Shangri-La there in Bengaluru, which was great property. Definitely a place that you can see that they are working to bring in international tourists, and that there's a lot to see and do.
And Bangalore as a city to be based in is a cool city to check out for 2 or 3 days. There's a lot of nice parks and various activities to do. So I think that's your base point, and then you can go out into the hills, into the seaside as well. So I think there's lots of different types of activities to check out.
And both of us are going to be doing separate episodes on that, on our sakes, on the city itself. We both had a chance to kind of get out and explore that independently a little bit outside of the trip that we were on, and really get into a little bit more of the culture of the city. So would encourage people, if you are going to be traveling to the region, to check out on Travel in 10 and on the Winging It Travel podcast. We're going to have a couple more episodes.
I've got an audio immersive episode of Bangalore, because as you can imagine, a lot of sounds. So I've collected a few sounds, and I think it's going to be a cool episode to give you the idea of what Bangalore and Southern India could be like in terms of a destination to travel to.
Fantastic. Well, thanks, James.
No, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
For hilarious and inspiring travel stories, check out Travel Tales with Mike Siegel. As a comedian and TV host, he's got some of the best travel stories out there. Find it at voyescape.com.